Hi, it's Jennifer, and today I'm here to do the first of a short series of videos on planning for a trip, in particular a trip that involves a plane ride. I normally go on, well, for the last several years, my husband and I have gone on longer trips, like on a cruise or something, which involves way more planning. Usually every year I go to some kind of conference for work, to do presentations, and that tends to take some planning depending on how long I'm going to be gone. I went on a trip in May for work to Finland, and that one, talk about really needing to plan. This trip that I have coming up is shorter, well, I don't know, it's 5 days, 4 nights. I guess that's not a terribly short trip, but it's not a vacation and it's not for work. It is my niece's wedding, and so it's not as involved for planning because I'm going to the wedding and participating in wedding events, and I'm not planning excursions or vacation things. I think there's one day that we're going to be going up. We're going to be taking a day trip with my brother. My husband is not going with me. It's my parents and I who are going. And that also makes the planning a little bit easier because I don't have to have a pet sitter or cancel a newspaper or anything like that because he'll be holding down the fort here at home. But what I do when I start out with planning, oh, and let me tell you about this little series of videos I'm going to put up. One of them, I'm going to go all carry-on for this trip. I rarely do that, but I'm going to go all carry-on. So in the bag that I'm going to put in the overhead bin on the plane, I'm going to pack just like my clothes and my shoes and things like that. And the, I don't know, toiletries that don't have to go through security or be in that little plastic bag. So that will be one, and so I'm gonna do a video on that. I have another one that I'm gonna do that is on that will be my other carry-on bag. I usually like bring a purse, but I pack it so it's flat in my luggage, and then I just bring carry-on to go under the seat in front of me on the airplane. And so that one's going to be kind of the things that I need for traveling, and you know, it's we're going to be on planes for a while. My niece is getting married in New York, and we live in Arizona, so you know, it's a good distance. So but what I always do when I start out is kind of think things through ahead of time. I used to print out all of the documentation that I needed for a trip, and I would just bring the papers with me. But then they would get mushed in my bag or lost or mixed up. And so then later on I started getting a pocket folder, and then I would put the confirmation for hotel and boarding passes and all that kind of stuff in the folder. But I also found that then it was kind of, when I pull out one paper, another one would fall out. And then for like the cruises, then what about your passport? And that doesn't really fit in the pocket folder very well without risking it coming out. And so, so a while back, I started actually using a folder that is a little bit, that has, well, it holds a little bit more. And so it's not a binder. It doesn't have the heavy clips. It's flexible, so I can shove it in a bag, and it's, you know, it's not going to be taking up a lot of space or anything like that. It can easily fit in a large purse or tote, and or the bag that I use to put under the seat in front of me on an airplane. So so this has worked really well. This particular folder is one that I got from Staples. It's Staples brand. It's called a presentation book, and it has 24 plastic sleeves in it, so you can slide your papers in. That way it makes it's nice and it's reusable, and so I can just remove the things from one trip and I can use this again for another trip. It also protects the pages from getting spills on them or getting ripped or anything like that, torn out. So I just wanted to show you today how I organize this. So I started out with this, and this one has a pocket on the front, so I can put information about my trip on the front. And it's probably the elementary school teacher in me. I was a classroom teacher for 12 years, so I was all into that cutesy stuff. So when I went to Finland, I had this cute little clip art for Finland, and so I always kind of have some cute little thing. You don't have to have that. but I do. So in this one, you know, we're going to New York. We're not going to upstate New York. So I wasn't able to find good clip art for upstate New York, surprise. But everything had Statue of Liberty and this, you know, New York City kind of stuff. So I just chose I Love New York. And it says, you know, my niece's name is Jill. We call her Jilly. And then I didn't block out the dates for you because by the time you see this video, I will have already taken the trip. So, so we are going, my parents and I are traveling from September 17th to September 21st. So inside, I have a few different things that, that I include. And I start out with this page right here. That is, in fact, you know what? Let me, I'm going to change the angle of this camera so I can. All right, so here is, here's the book. And on this first page here, this is my to-do list in advance. So it's things to do, like this says to do before the trip, 1 month before, 2 weeks before, the day before. Now when I do a folder like this for a cruise, this is way more detailed, because I'm getting a pedicure done before I go, and I'm getting don't hate on me for doing this, but my husband and I usually go to a tanning salon before we go to on a cruise, not to get tan, but just to really prevent us from getting fried. We're both kind of pasty white, and so we just sort of want to take the pasty white glow off of our skin so we don't end up sunburned the first day. So those kind of things we're doing ahead of time. Maybe there's things we need to buy, and but for a shorter trip, there's really not as much to do. And because my husband isn't going along on the trip, there's less to do. But this would be where I would list like cancel the newspaper or print out instructions for our pet sitter, things like that. On this one, I don't have anything listed for 1 month before. It's on here because I have this as a saved file for future trips. 2 weeks before the trip, well, I don't know, I guess I'm gonna do this next week. Right now it would be 2 weeks before the trip, so I'm doing this 1 week before. But I call and inform credit card companies that I'm going to be traveling, so that if, so they don't look at purchases I've made when I'm in New York and say, ooh, somebody's got a hold of her card, and then they put a hold on it, or also just so that they can be watching out to make sure that there isn't any suspicious activity happening on the card. And then, you know, the day before, like I put down that I'm gonna paint my nails the day before, I'm gonna get my rings cleaned. I hate going on a trip with makeup brushes and hairbrushes that haven't been cleaned. I clean them once a month, but and I just cleaned my brushes last week, but I'll clean them again before I go on this trip. I just do that. Get cash, confirm hotel reservations, all these different kinds of things. Printing out the boarding passes, checking in at the airline. And let me just tell you about checking in at the airline. That's a really important thing to do. You know how you can check in 24 hours in advance? One time my husband and I were we're going on a cruise, and we were getting on the plane, and then they started taking people off the plane, and it turned out there was a hole in the cargo hold, and so they told us that, you know, good news, we have another plane for you. So we went over to get on it, and they said, oh, well, good news and bad news, we do have a plane, but it has 30 fewer seats. And so they determined who was going to get on the plane by the order of check-in, so whenever you checked in. And yeah, so if you check in 24 hours in advance and you're one of the first, then if something like that happens, then, you know, you won't be impacted by that. So anyway, this is just my to-do list for things that I just need to take care of before I go. And then I also have a little list of things that I'm gonna put in my carry-on bag. And so I'm gonna do a video on that, so we don't need to go through this in any detail. Now when I say carry-on bag, I'm going all carry-on for this trip. But when I say carry-on bag, what I mean is that the bag that's going under my seat. So if I want a book, or I want snacks, or I want to bring, you know, knitting or something like that to do. So I have a list of those things. This is a packing list that is for general things, not clothing. So I have toiletries and the different kinds of things I want to remember to bring. I have just basics like socks, underwear, pajamas, flip-flops, a purse, whatever. I have jewelry, and I've got lines underneath that, if you can see, because I don't always bring, obviously, the same jewelry, and so I'm going to determine the jewelry that I'm going to wear based on what I'm bringing. So I've left lines there. Tech items, technology items, and I've got my charger for my phone and iPad listed, and then some just some informational things that are under miscellaneous. So I have that. This next one, oh wait, where did my, oh, somehow I overlapped these. So I have another, I'm going to pull this out because I put these in the same sleeve here as I was loading this up this morning. This one is mostly just lines, and this is for putting my clothing list. I have listed a few things that I actually typed in. Those are the things I'm planning to wear to the wedding and to the rehearsal dinner, and so I know I'm going to bring those. The rest of them I'm going to I've got a couple weeks before this trip, so I'm going to think through what I'm going to be actually taking, and so then I will write those things in. So the next, let me slide that back in here. So the next one says boarding passes, and this is just where I will slide in the boarding passes once I print them out the day before our trip. And so it's just a nice place to keep them, and so I don't lose them. When I go on a cruise, I have another one that says passports, and we put our passports in there. So that's all in our little notebook as well. Then I keep the itinerary. This is our flight itinerary. So this is just the printout from Expedia and the information about our trip. Okay, is that focusing in? The sun's kind of changing here. We've got a storm. Wow, we have a storm coming through, and the sky's really dark. But so the light really changed. Sorry about that. But this is the itinerary for our flight, and then I have a blank sheet here because on this trip my mom and dad are going with, and my mom made the reservations for our hotel in the first hotel we're going to stay in New York, and I made the reservation for the second hotel we're staying in, and then my mom made reservations for our rental car, and I bought the plane tickets and all this. So we have some, I'm saving this because I'm getting some confirmation information to put in there, and so I left that one open. This one is just a brief little page. When we meet my brother in New York, we're going to go up to Valley Forge one day. And so I just printed out just a little description of Valley Forge and put that in here. And I've got another space here to put in any other information about that little day trip that we're going to do. We're staying at another hotel the day before we come back. And so I have the confirmation sheets in here for that hotel. This is my niece's wedding invitation and the information about the cocktail hour and reception, the cocktail hour that's happening before and the reception afterwards. And I just taped those onto another sheet and put those inside. So I have them there, and with me it has the addresses of where we're supposed to be. So so we have all of that and the times and everything. So, and then the last thing in here is just a overview of our daily schedule while we're there. And so I put it at the end just so I can flip to it. It's just saying, like, on Wednesday, we're flying from Flagstaff to Syracuse. On Thursday, we're going to be going to Valley Forge, and we'll have our rehearsal dinner. Friday's the wedding. Saturday, we're leaving and then flying back, and it tells our different connecting flights. And so it's just kind of an overview of that. And I have a whole bunch of pages that are left here in the back to fill up. So even though I have some pages in the back to fill up, I'm probably not going to fill all these up. But what I liked about this presentation book when I got it is that it does have so many extra pages in it. When I do a cruise folder, I have a page, a sheet protector that has all the confirmations for our excursions we're going to go on, places that we want to be sure to see at our different locations. I even put a page in to keep some of the stuff that I get, like memorabilia that I get from the ship, those daily information sheets that they give you about the activities that are going on in the boat, any little brochures for, like, if we do a snorkeling excursion and they had a brochure and I want to scrapbook that, you know, I can slide that in there. So I have a lot of different pages that I fill up a lot more, especially for something that's like a cruise. And so I do a lot more detailed thing. But this is really nice because everything is, I have a place to plan and think through things before the trip. And then because I keep it in a file on my computer, I can print it out and I don't have to rethink this every single time I go on a trip. I change things. I do end up changing things a lot, but I don't have to just start from scratch each time. And so then once I get to the actual trip, if I can hang on to this, once I get to the actual trip, everything is in order. It's in the order that I'm going to be using it. And so I just think that is really helpful. So I hope this was helpful to you. And like I said, I'm going to be doing my next video on the carry-on that I'm going to keep under my seat. And then I will do another one that is the carry-on that is going to go into the overhead bin that has my clothes and things like that. So I hope that you'll join me for those videos. And if you're interested in more videos on Busy Being Jen, I would encourage you to just hit that subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever I upload new videos, which is about 2 videos a week. And I also do planning things, I do kind of day-to-day organizational kinds of things. I have some craft things, I do a lot of beauty stuff. So anyway, I hope I'll see you again on Busy Being Jen. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.